In the previous lesson, we saw how we can create a series of animation using more advanced features in After Effects, like using paths and deforming in this case, the text on a path, or make it follow a path. And also, we can animate like cartoons, like animation using the Puppet tool, and the Puppet features here in the top toolbar. We saw how we can change from linear to Bezier interpolation and work with curves rather than lines. And in this video, we're gonna work also with the time, not only with the space. So we're gonna work with the slow motion features and warping the time and so on. So also we activated the motion blur to have a more realistic movements of the objects. And in this video, we're gonna talk again about the frame blending and the different options that we have here. And these are really useful when we work with time, slowing down or speeding up the footage. So by the way, you can also use the puppet tool not only for cartoon-like animation, you can also use it for like real people or real characters simulating like the movements, or you can use it also to warp the image. So let's start with a new project, new lesson. And before we start playing around with time, I wanna go over some concepts with a simple shape. So I'm gonna create a new composition and it's gonna be full HD, just gonna change slightly the background and because I don't like the black background. And I want to create a shape here. Let's create like a star. And I want to change here like the stroke. I want to do something a little bit different. And also the fill, I want to change it. Well, actually, I want to get rid of the fill type. So I'm going to click on the fill options, make it like empty. And in the stroke, instead, I want to have a nice gradient. I'm going to go inside the parameters here to the gradient stroke and get to the colors to edit the gradient. So I want to do something a little more different. And there you go. So I want to use this star right here. And the pivot point is right here. So I can use the pan behind to click and place it in the middle. And now let's start to animate this. So if we want to animate the time and the space, well, when we use the position here, if I go in the transform, I activate the position and I go like here. Well, that's basically animating time and space because I'm moving this from this position to this position. So this is a movement into space, but it also happens in a certain amounts of keyframes or frames or seconds that we can see down here. So if I take this closer, I'm basically making this star faster. And again, I want to use motion blur right here. So I'm going to activate it. And we can see the faster it's going to go, the more I'm going to have the motion blur effect. So we are still working with the simple keyframes, and we already working with time and the animation. So these little dots represent the speed of my object. And you can see it's a linear velocity, it's a linear speed, doesn't accelerate, doesn't decelerate. So this is why it's called linear. And also the movement is linear, is on a line. So if I add another point here, and I can do that, I know that I can do that also by adding a keyframe right here, but also using the pen tool, because this is also a path. So if I click inside here, it's gonna add another point. And then if I click with the select tool, click there, I can move this point up. And again, this is gonna be a linear and kind of mechanic movement of this star. So if I don't want it so mechanic, so straight, I want to make this smoother, we worked with the interpolation. So if I select this now, and I don't want to move the anchor point, right? So I'm gonna deselect the keyframe there. So I can work with one keyframe, or I can like click and drag and select all the keyframes and work with all of them. So if I right click, I can go again in the keyframe interpolation. So this is temporal interpolation and spatial interpolation. We already talked about spatial interpolation. So if I change this to a Bezier, it's gonna make like a curve, a nice curve. But you can see nothing changes about the spacing of the little dots there. So yeah, we're gonna have a curvy and smooth movement, not a mechanic movement anymore, but it's gonna be like constant. It's not gonna, again, accelerate or decelerate. Now to have that, I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna go again in the keyframe interpolation, but this time I'm gonna go a temporal interpolation here. So let's do like an auto Bezier. Let's say, okay, well, nothing changed so far. Well, nothing visible. You can see now the little keyframes have become like a circle. So if I right click again, go in the keyframe interpolation, let's go now to, sorry, here, let's do like hold and let's see what's gonna happen. Now hold is gonna have another keyframe icon there. Well, hold is basically not interpolating at all. It's just gonna be a change of status using just the keyframes. So you can see how they can differ so much. And then let's go to continuous Bezier. Okay, and well, nothing changes about accelerating, decelerating. Now what I see here is these little like hour clocks. So let's switch now to the graph editor. Graph editor is the more advanced editor where I can see everything I do, but represented with these curves. I can also use this to fit all the graphics to the view. So what I see here is that I'm using the position and the scale, but I'm also using the speed. So if I click on this little button, well, the first button is going to show or hide tracks or curves in this type of editor. The second one is going to let you like select what you want to see, or you can also auto select. And you can see in the auto select here, we have the position. And if we go here, we can also select the speed graph. So this is going to show me the speed. And then we can do other things here, as you can see. Now, let me just go back and do something else for these keyframes. You can see I can select the keyframes from here, or I can select the keyframes directly inside the path. Now, what I want to do is, again, go into the interpolations here. I'm going to select the first one, this one here, and right click and go to the keyframe interpolation. And I just want to like put this to Bezier. So nothing changes so far in terms of speed. But if I go down here and I right click, I can also go to the keyframe assistant and again back to the keyframe interpolation. And I can do an easy ease or easy ease in or easy ease out. Now, if you look more closely, this represent basically the speed, because if I push it down here, you can see that in this part, if we look closely, the dots are going to increasingly be moved apart from the other. So again, we can adjust the movement and we can adjust the speed. So there's both curves. So it's kind of also confusing a little bit, but let's play this again. So you can see it kind of starts really fast and then stops and then goes like more with a linear interpolation. So we are starting to affect time. And you can do it with the changing of the curve, or you can also like select the key. And also down here, you have ease in, ease out. And then we have easy ease, which is gonna like be applied to anything. So I'm gonna go easy ease in right here. So you can see again, it's gonna kind of slow down. Remember that the more space I have between frames, the faster it's gonna go. So here it's kind of decelerating. So let me just go back a little bit because this can be confusing first time. So I want to go back where everything was linear.